What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Third Game Channel. My name's AJ Kells. How y'all doing? And it's time once more for the weekly show. Technically a day late, but you know what? I would say it's within the margin of error, and by no means the the longest delay I've ever put on the show. You know, it was one day because I spent most of my day off sleep, and then I spent most of today sleep until I woke up an hour before I have to go to work and decided, hey, I should maybe get off my ass and do something today. So we're going to be taking a look at mostly some Push Square stuff. Mostly we look at Push Square stuff on this channel because I really like the reporting. But as the title of the video says, I really noticed a very interesting trend over this last week. A focus on Sony and this... I don't know what to describe it. It's like I put in the title. It's a weird conundrum. It's this weird... I don't want to say people are being very anti-Sony, but they're questioning what the hell is going on and what's in that. Oh, they're doing bad things here and there and there. Well, some of it I agree with, some of it I disagree with, and some of it I'm just like, well, I think this is just getting blown out of proportion. It's some weird stuff. For instance of things that we're going to be talking about, the fact that Days Gone 2 apparently got axed, or the pitch for it didn't get accepted, which is very odd to me because Days Gone 1 was great. Granted, I mean, it was not a big critical success, but from everything I was able to tell, gamers really enjoyed it, which is just an odd move in my part. Although I guess some people would argue, given some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, well, Sony doesn't care about the gamers; they only care about profit, which I think is. Which I have problems with that statement. I'll probably address it a little later. So like I said, they decide that they're not that they turned down the pitch for Days Gone 2, but they accepted a pitch to let Naughty Dog remake the original Last of Us, which I will get into in a little bit. Which oh god, that frightens me. Of course, now my dogs are freaking out in the background. Something about the MLB The Show getting put on Xbox Game Pass, Sony not making a statement on whether or not they're going to be at this virtual E3 that's going on this year, which I have my own thing with. Overall, I like I said, I think that there's other explanations than just Sony bad or Sony's trying to fuck over the consumers or whatever. It's been very interesting. I'm doing this not necessarily in the format of the usual show, just because we're covering pretty much one topic this entire time. Obviously, all the articles will be linked in the description, as well as articles will be linked in the description, and I'll probably do another video probably on Wednesday. That's my next day off. Thursday. Sorry, Thursday's my next day off. I'll probably do a video then talking about some of the other stuff from that, would have been the weekly show. But like I said, I wanted to cover this topic because I found this interesting. So give me a hot second. I'm going to check on my dogs, and then I'll be back. Of course, people come home and the dogs decide, hey, we got to freak the fuck out. All right, so first article we got up here. Robert Ramsey, this is Push Square, poll, is PlayStation losing ground to Xbox? And which I think is a very an interesting article because from by all metrics, PlayStation is actually selling, specifically the PS5 is selling very well when it's in stock. Which I will cede to people that is not that. Sony, I think they're doing their best to keep the PS5 in stock places, but at the same time, I think, they probably could communicate with fans a little better about stock shortages and whatnot, so, there's some give and take there. But, it's weird, though, that people are like, oh my gosh, Xbox is doing so much to beat PlayStation. I guess I just don't see that, or I don't think that they've beaten them yet. Sure, Game Pass is a good. This is so weird for me to say because I'm not interested in Game Pass. I don't really have an interest in using it just because it's another subscription service that I just feel like I don't need. Which, frankly, I wish that they would just combine games with gold, Xbox Gold and everything with Game Pass and make it the however much the price is. I think that would be a much better sell to me because I have to pay for my Gold account and as well as Game Pass, and it's just all this extra subscription crap that I don't need. While Sony, all I have is my PS Plus, which I it's one of those things that I understand the value in Game Pass. I understand why people like Game Pass. It's just not for me, and I don't think it's the big boost in sales for the console that in the brand that I think people think it is. Sorry, I got into something there. Let's actually read this article here. The console wars. Although they don't exist in the raw form that many would like to perceive, there's no getting away from the fact that companies like Sony and Microsoft are competing with one another. And right here in April 2021, 5 months removed from the PlayStation 5's launch, PlayStation and Xbox are going head-to-head once more. It's obviously very early days as far as this new console generation is concerned, but given the recent news cycle, is it fair to say that Xbox is gaining ground on PlayStation? Is the Japanese giant letting its lead slide after years of immense PS4 success? As always, we want your thoughts on that matter. Sorry if you're hearing a knocking sound in the background. I think somebody's cooking or something in my house. On the Xbox side of things, there's no question that Game Pass has propelled the brand forward. Game Pass has become the consumer-friendly face of Xbox, and it's getting to a point where many a PlayStation fan would argue that Sony must respond, and rumors say it will. But it's not just the perceived value of Game Pass that's doing damage. It's Sony's supposed lack of communication on its plans for the future. See, that is something that I think Sony could be better on. It is communication. I have said in the past, I think Xbox talks a lot to people, although I think a lot of the times when Xbox comes out and says, "Ooh, we're trying to make sure you're all informed and talking," they give a lot of vague non-answers. It's one of those, would you rather have the company say nothing or give you lip service and try and go, "Well, we're talking to you." Well, yeah, but you're just making sounds. I'm not getting any real information. So that's my take on it. But again, I don't like the idea of acting like Game Pass is this end-all be-all. I get it. It's a cool service. Yes, you can play a lot of games for free and stuff, but I'd rather just buy and own my games as opposed to getting the service and then stuff kind of rotates in and out on the Game Pass. It's just not my thing. Mixed with, again, it's like I keep saying, it's just another subscription service along with all my streaming services and my PS Plus, my Xbox Gold account, and this and that I have to keep track of. So that's my thing with Game Pass and whatnot. It just seems like an extra expense and an extra annoying thing to just continue keeping up with that I may or may not use. So and again, maybe this is just for my situation in particular where I play a lot of games, I buy a lot of games. So maybe it's just, like I said, it's just me in particular that sees Game Pass like this. But I do know other people who have seen and gone, yeah, Game Pass just seems confusing to me. I'd just rather buy my games and be done with it. So again, I think everybody acting like, oh, Sony needs a corresponding thing to Game Pass. I don't think that's true. Now, if Sony wants to do it, I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say it's a bad idea. I'm just saying I don't think it is a necessary thing to continue to beat Xbox. there we go. There's my take on that. The new PlayStation company that's headed by Jim Ryan doesn't do things by the book. In all of our years covering the brand, we've never known it to be so unpredictable. Over the last year or so, it's made a habit of making significant announcements out of nowhere. Before the PS5's big reveal, Sony's silence was deafening. True. There were leaks and rumors everywhere, but the firm did nothing but sit and wait for its time to shine. When the reveal did eventually happen, the online discourse was flipped on its head, and Sony was almost immediately back on top. See, my issue with Sony's silence wasn't... I don't necessarily have an issue that Sony kept stuff close to the chest for so long. My issue with Sony and the way it was handling everything previous to the PS5's launch was actually after they had made the announcement and after a lot of stuff had kind of come to light. How Sony just seemed like they couldn't give us a definitive answer on some stuff, or let me rephrase, not a definitive answer, a 100% clear answer. I think the whole backwards compatibility on the PS5 was a big thing, where they came out and said, well, the PS5 is gonna have, they explained backwards compatibility, and a lot of people are like, wait a minute, can you be a little more specific? And then PlayStation gives a clarifying answer, and then people are like, wait a minute, what? And then Sony comes out and clarifies again, and it's still unclear. And now that we have our hands on the PS5, it's pretty much, I can play my PS4. I can play most. I'm not going to say all, but find me the PS4 games that I can't play on the PS5. It's one of those things that it's like, okay, so it is the vast majority of titles are available. So it ended up being it's just backwards compatibility. Sony just explained it in a way that made no sense. Like, that's my issue with Sony. It's just, I think they do have a communication problem. Either but this is also the problem. People say, well, they're not talking enough. But then when they talk to people, oh, well, it makes no sense. I'm like, I have more of an issue with the no sense thing than playing stuff close to the chest. That's just me. Again, bringing up my own opinion there. Let's see here. And when we bring up online discourse, because that's where a lot of the current negativity surrounding PlayStation emanates from, now we all know that websites like Push Square exist in kind of a hardcore bubble, at least in part. The opinions shared by people who follow the gaming industry on a day-to-day basis are not necessarily the opinion of much of the wider mainstream audience. However, the hardcore bubble is often where perceptions are planted, ready to bleed into the mass market, and that's what's happening with Sony's reputation right now. The idea that Xbox is making waves and PlayStation has grown fat and lazy, gorged on the aforementioned success of the PS4. And again, this is also something I should mention. Push Square is a PlayStation-centric website, so again, these polls and everything that I'm going to show and stuff later, just keep that in mind. I always want to make sure I mention that when I'm talking about Push Square, when they're talking Xbox stuff. It is a PlayStation-focused website, so, take that for what you will. The $70 price tag for first-party PS5 games, the distinct lack of any official comment on the ongoing shortage of PS5 stock, the closure of the PS Vita and PS3 stores, the news that Sony developed MLB The Show 2021 is going to be free on Game Pass on the same day that it hits PS5 and PS4 at full price. It's all bad press, and it all adds up. It's a slippery slope, and we've seen it happen before with the PS3, the arrogant Sony era. But is that really a fair comparison? After all, we shouldn't forget that the PS5 is selling extremely well, despite the fact that that actually buying a console remains a nightmare for the average consumer. Is the negativity that surrounds PlayStation online really as prominent as some people think, or is it overblown? That's my vote. Again, we want to know what you think. Vote in our polls, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, like, looking at some of these issues here. So, the official lack of comments on shortages on the PS5. Sure, that should be mentioned. I think they could be a little bit more transparent with fans, saying, talking to them about it. But at the same time, given the current global situation with the pandemic and all that, I understand why everything has been just a massive clusterfuck. Getting stuff out of the Asian regions, specifically, because I think I'm not sure where Sony does a majority of their console manufacturing, but my guess would be China, or at least they probably get Chinese parts. I remember reading stuff that they were having a lot of issues with that and imports and everything. I ordered a figure from a Japanese distributor, and it's on hold right now. Even though that they're made and they're it's probably sitting in a warehouse somewhere, they can't get shipped because of all this shit right now with the pandemic and whatnot. So look, I don't the shortage of stock. How much of that is necessarily PlayStation not making enough or PlayStation having issue? It's one of those things that, yes, they could be more transparent from a PR standpoint, but I don't necessarily blame them for the shortage of stock because there's a lot of really weird shit going on right now. So that's again, maybe that's just maybe I'm just giving them too much of a pass there, but that's my take on it. The $70 price tag for first-party games, I actually don't mind it. Personally, games have been $60 for the longest time. Probably since the 360 generation. I think we've been probably on the, what's the term? I think we've been due for a hike in game price for a long time. I just think it doesn't look especially good coming out of this time again of, I don't want to say economic crisis because I don't think we're at that point just yet, but yeah, there has been a lot of issues in the economic sense, specifically, and again, I'm speaking more from a U.S. perspective because that's where I am, but I know the worldwide economies have taken a hit, so I guess that even though it is, well, it's just $10, yeah, but given the state of things nowadays, that can be tough for some people. It's one of those things. I get the frustration, but at the same time, I don't think it's this massive issue that people are talking about. Although I guess at the same time, it's like the article says, this is all bad press. It all kind of adds up to shit. So yeah, there's some give and take there. The closure of the PS Vita and the PS3 stores. See, now this is something I talked about last week, and you know what? I will empathize a little bit more with people who are frustrated with this because I more understand the more I've thought about it, the more I've kind of read some thoughts on it. I understand a lot more what people are getting at, especially the people who are saying that there's an issue with game preservation and how Xbox has actually done a very good job with this, how you can still buy older games, how you can still, with a lot of their backwards compatibility and whatnot. That Xbox has done a great job of preserving a lot of titles while really closing the Vita store. So many online digital-only games are going to be lost, which I think is actually a very important thing to mention. I don't know how PlayStation could fight against this. I mean, other than just keep the stores open, but I understand why they're closing the stores. It's just one of those things. They're probably just, for the amount of traffic that they get on them, it's one of those things that it's two or three generations behind us now. It's time to move on and put their resources and focus on other things instead of just leaving everything open. And I know this is one of those tough situations where it comes down to, oh well, the company should want to keep consumers happy. Well, there's a balancing act between keeping consumers happy and what works for the company. I'm sure that they've had teams of people try and figure out the cost benefit and everything on keeping these stores open, specifically on the Vita side, where they announced years ago that they were stopping first-party development. I know that there has been an indie development scene, and there's been plenty of development for the PS Vita since Sony said, yeah, we're closing out first-party support. But come on, Sony's basically saying we're getting out of the handheld market, basically ceding that ground to Nintendo. So, again, the closure of the Vita store and the PS3 store, I understand where people are frustrated with this. I understand the idea that a lot of games are probably going to get lost now because of this. I don't know, maybe they could keep it on the actual... like you could buy it on your through the online store through a computer, because I can buy my PS4 or PS5 games on my computer and then download them on my PS5. So I don't know, maybe you can keep some games alive through that. But at the same time, I think people are just like, those heartless monsters are closing the stores. Well, yeah, but I'm sure there's reasons for it. The Sony developed MLB The Show 21 being free on Game Pass. We'll talk about that in a little bit because I actually have an article on that. There's talks that's not Sony's fault. It's just it's like I said. Is this all the act of an arrogant Sony and this, that? No, I don't think so. I think a lot of this stuff is just business moves. I think, yes, some of this it could be solved with clear communication. Some of this is just the shitty world state that we live in right now. I don't blame Sony for it all. I just can't. I just can't square that circle in my mind. So let's actually take a look at this now that I've ranted for so long. Is PlayStation losing ground to Xbox? See, I still think kind of, but I think PlayStation's still on top and doing well. Again, note that this is a PlayStation-focused site, so that is something to keep in mind here. So, yeah, a majority of people, I think, yeah, Xbox is doing well, but I still think PlayStation's on top of this. And I can understand where people are saying Xbox is catching up quickly, Sony has to respond. But see, I don't think, but I also think that, because I can see this thought process, but my fear of saying that Sony must respond is by saying that Sony has to respond by making a Game Pass competitor. That has to, like right here, it needs to compete directly with Game Pass. I think they should improve the existing subscription services, PS Plus and PS Now, and keep it more simple, which I think which clearly a lot of other people agree with. I think that's their better strategy. I think it's do what works for Sony, focus on your first-party studios, focus on your games. Like I said, you can communicate a little clearer and stuff like that. I think that they can really focus on their own game as opposed to just trying to compete in a direct head-to-head with Xbox. And that's just me. So now that we've done, or we've kind of ranted and talked about a lot of that stuff, let's talk this new news that apparently this is a big thing by Sony that I just do not understand the decision on. That The Last of Us is getting a remake, and that Days Gone 2 isn't getting a sequel, which just baffles me that they would put money into a remake for The Last of Us. They put money into a remake for The Last of Us, but not give a sequel to a game that had so much potential and was so good, which in my opinion was really good. I think a lot of people really liked it despite its rough edges. Although oddly enough, I did see another article earlier today, I retweeted it, that said that the game would have featured an online a shared world online co-op thing, which just, as soon as you say those words, I start cringing and going, oh dear God, no. But at the same time, I see this, and I still think that that Michael Scott meme, overused, no, God, no, about that they're remaking The Last of Us, which I'll go into a little bit more why that makes me want to throw up. But this article's Eddie McCooch, by the way, GameSpot. A new report, from Bloomberg has shed some light on the goings-on at Sony, or PlayStation, and it appears that despite The Last of Us only releasing in 2013, oh Jesus Christ, it's been a decade since that game came out, Naughty Dog is already developing a remake. The report also mentioned that Days Gone studio Sony Bend was developing a new Uncharted game, and that Days Gone will not get a sequel. Wait, so Sony Bend is developing a new Uncharted? That's weird. Sony, I knew that a new Uncharted game was reportedly in the works, but I didn't know it was being done by Sony Bend. That's odd. I need to read these articles more carefully. Or that's a typo or something. Sony's visual arts service group based in San Diego has typically supported other Sony studios in the past. However, the studio is said to have begun its attempt to remake The Last of Us about 3 years ago. Visual arts service group founder Michael Mumbauer recruited about 30 people from inside Sony and out to create a new division that would develop a remake of The Last of Us for PS5, Bloomberg said. The team didn't get funding or support, and Sony elected to shift development of The Last of Us remake to Naughty Dog, according to the report. Mumbauer has since left the company, along with others who worked there. A spokesperson for Sony declined to comment. The report also mentions that Days Gone studio Sony Bend pitched a sequel to the game, but it apparently did not move ahead despite the commercial success of the first game, which is something else, that game actually sold very well. Like I said, critically, maybe it didn't do so well. Commercially, it did. Instead of working on a sequel, one team at Sony Bend is now assisting Naughty Dog in a multiplayer game. Okay. The report doesn't say what the game is, but it was previously announced that Naughty Dog is making standalone is making standalone. For the love of God, editors. Well, sorry. A standalone Last of Us multiplayer game. Another team inside Sony Bend was put to work on a new Uncharted game with Naughty Dog overseeing the project, according to the report. I'm interested in a new Uncharted game. Obviously, it's going to take place with Nate's daughter, which I'm on board with. I just, it's one of those things that I love the franchise. I want to see what they can do. Dear God, I just don't want, after the fucking mess that was The Last of Us 2, I want Neil Druckmann as far away from a writer's room as fucking possible. Some higher-ups at Sony Bend were reportedly unhappy about working on Uncharted and asked to be removed from the game. I can totally understand why, because it's not their fucking franchise. Sony agreed, according to the report, and Sony Bend is now making a new game on their own. Okay. In the past, Bend has worked on Siphon Filter series, as well as the Vita game Uncharted Golden Abyss. I always forget Golden Abyss. So this wouldn't have been the first time it worked on Naughty Dog's series. Naughty Dog has said it won't make another Uncharted game, but the studio previously mentioned that a different studio could come in to make Uncharted 5. It seems that still remains a possibility, even if Sony Bend isn't doing it. Which, again, I'm on board with. I think Naughty Dog has made a very good platform for the franchise. Granted, though, even though I hate the fact that Neil Druckmann... what he did to The Last of Us, I didn't hate what he did with Uncharted 4. I thought actually that one was perfectly fine. Because what Uncharted 4 done without? I think that one was done without Amy Hennig, I believe, because I know she was the main creative force. At least if I'm remembering correctly, she was the creative force between 1, 2, 3. So or did she leave after 2? I can't remember. I don't know. I'm probably misremembering some stuff there, but. Either way, like I said, Neil Druckmann has very much lost me. You want to talk about one game having me lose faith in someone? Forget Cyberpunk, because at least that game, it's just technically a little gross, but there's still a fun game there. The Last of Us Part 2, even though technically in the controls wise, I loved the gameplay. The story was a real bag of garbage. God, where the fuck was I in this article? Also in the report, it's mentioned that Mumbaro's team initially wanted to do a remake of the original Uncharted, but the game quickly fizzled due to the cost and other issues. Why remake the original Uncharted? It's fine. So the game moved on to remake The Last of Us. Why? An idea to release it in a package with The Last of Us 2 for PS5. Okay, you know what? That one I actually kind of understand. Okay, that's not an awful deal, but... I'd be much more fine with a remaster of The Last of Us for the PS5. Look, I was digging around the Twitter comments of all this. So look, I understand everyone Sony's, they're just searching for money. They're sorry, people are coming into my office and bothering me while I'm trying to work here. Sony's just trolling for money. Sony's just trying to get. I'm sorry. I was mid rant and somebody distracted me. Sorry about that. The main point I'm trying to make is Sony was known as the big pusher of remasters during the PS4 generation. It's just constantly, everything that was great on the PS3 is now getting remastered for the PS4, even though I did wonder why Infamous never got a remake. That is something. I can understand where people are like, oh god, a remaster would be gross, but I'd much rather have a remaster compared to a full-blown remake of The Last of Us. Specifically, again, after what Druckmann did to the plot of The Last of Us 2, how hey, you want to know what would be great? Let's take Joel and Ellie's story. How we have, how there's a considered logical cause effect, how then people change after that cause and effect relationship, and then it leads to more cause and effect. Yeah, you know how we do that? Well, let's do that, but let's show the effect at the very beginning, and then put the cause somewhere in the middle in a weird flashback. Yeah, and then let's put something that'll recontextualize everything at the very end of the fucking game, even though it should have been at the very start of the game. And hey, you want to know what else is a great plan? Let's make a dark revenge story, but not actually tell a dark revenge story, which I felt blue balled the entire time with Ellie. And then halfway through the game, let's take you back to the beginning and switch protagonists, and then put you in charge of a psychopath who's gonna do her own thing with shit you don't care about that really doesn't matter. Show this war between a religious cult and a paramilitary organization that's really just background dressing. Hell, the leader of the paramilitary cult, or the paramilitary group, was only in like 2 scenes, and one of them he just shows up out of nowhere to shoot one of the characters that I actually liked in the game in the face. Holy shit, that game was a fucking mess. Oh my god. God damn it. The Last of Us, the first game was so tight. It was so well made. I loved the story. It was everything. Joel and Ellie meet with Tess. Tess gets bit. Joel feels a sense of responsibility to Tess to take Ellie, at least to Tommy. They meet Bill. They have to get the car. They get the car. We have the character of Bill, who I love. Then we move, they lose the car, they meet those 2 brothers. Okay, the 2 brothers give Ellie this first big look into the true harsh reality of the world. Not saying that she hasn't experienced loss, but I think this is the first time that she's experienced how truly cruel the world is outside of the cities. And also all this time that Joel and Ellie are coming together. Then they meet Tommy. Then, that they do that whole thing. That's what really bonds Joel and Ellie as this kind of surrogate father, surrogate daughter, sort of union. And then from there, they move on to the University of Colorado. They try and find the Fireflies. Joel ends up severely injured. Now Ellie has to be the protector. Ellie has to take over and watch out for Joel. Then then we move forward to when Ellie's almost eaten by the weird candle people, and she machetes that one guy in the face, and that really, awesome scene where after that, Ellie becomes very withdrawn and very, very traumatized by that event, almost similar to how Joel was at the very beginning of the game to Ellie, where Ellie was trying to get to know him and try and bring levity to the situation, and Joel was very businesslike and let's just do this, and very, very, very emotionally reserved. It's almost like they swapped spots, and that was like an actual well-developed character thing. And then they come back together, and then they get to the hospital, and then Joel decides to save her, and instead of letting the Fireflies kill Ellie. And then, granted, that kind of leads in the event of 2, and because again, the start of 2 actually kind of worked until you find out that they left so much information out of the start of that game that should have been at the start of that game. And oh my god, The Last of Us Part 2 was such a dropped. Oh my god, hopefully I wasn't talking too fast, but again, it's like I said, The Last of Us was just so clean in its structure. It was just event to event to event to event, and it all made sense, and we saw the characters cleanly develop. The Last of Us Part 2, the characters really didn't develop. They were always the same character, because again, we were so focused on cause and effect, we never saw how the characters felt about the cause and effect. It was just constantly event, 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 event. It was the writer's equivalent of cocaine. We could have the scene where these characters sit and have a deep character moment, or we could just make action, or we can just push them on to the next thing because we don't want to write that. Oh my god, my tongue hurts from how fast I was talking there. But again, it really pisses me off that Neil Druckmann would have a chance to ruin the greatness of The Last of Us. And just, if they would keep the story the same, but just put in the new gameplay mechanics, maybe redesign a few of the levels structurally, I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it. But if they're going to touch that story, sorry, we'll move on here because I'm very Very annoyed by this. The PlayStation Studios boss, Herman Hultz, said The Last of Us remake was too expensive due to its new engine for PS5 and gameplay redesigns. According to the report, it said Sony put Mumbaur's team to work on The Last of Us 2 as a co-developer with Naughty Dog to help polish the game. The report said, after The Last of Us 2 was finished, Sony reportedly asked some developers from Naughty Dog to help Mumbaur's team with The Last of Us remake, but the game later reportedly shifted to Naughty Dog's internal team. The Last of Us remake, which is said to be known as T1X, is still in development at Naughty Dog with help from Visual Arts Support Group, the report said. Earlier I was mentioning I was reading things on, the Twitter replies to this, and some people are like, I don't get why Sony's doing this. Oh, it's just another remaster or whatever. Like I said, my big fear is, like I said, Neil Druckmann touching that story. But yeah, I guess it is kind of the point of why even remake it, although somebody brought up, because people are going to buy it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll buy it. I'm going to buy it whether it's good or not. I'll probably buy a collector's edition with a cool statue. Because, hell, I got the Ellie statue sitting behind me, which is still dope, even though the game sucked. It's beside the point. I'm like, yeah, I'll still buy it. Although I do agree with some guy put a list of games that need to be remastered or remade on PS5. And again, Infamous, Jack. I'm not sure if he put it in there, but I'll put it in there. Let's talk Sly Cooper needs to come back. Let's just forget about the PS Vita game as much as let's just forget the Vita game. God damn it, let's finish this thing. Former God of War and Twisted Metal David Jaffe also revealed he had hinted at this news a few days prior to the report with a cryptic post on Twitter. Rather than be a broad message, it was essentially coded to draw attention to The Last of Us. It's one of multiple titles that could be in the works at Naughty Dog, as the studio is also developing the previously announced Last of Us multiplayer game, which just doesn't need to happen. Outside of that, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann has said the studio might make The Last of Us 3 or a new IP. Please don't make Last of Us 3. Or, you know what? Make The Last of Us 3. Make it good. Sony has already revived The Last of Us in some form in 2014, releasing a remastered edition of the PS3 original for PS4, which was actually a very good remaster. The series continues to be very popular, and just recently HBO announced Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey will star in the TV show based on it. I really don't care, because Ashley Johnson is not in it, and she is as I always say, a fucking treasure. And granted, she can't play Ellie in a live action adaptation, but no interest in that. Hell, if I won't watch the Witcher TV show, I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to watch the Uncharted movie. I don't have an interest in watching them. I just want hell, I didn't even see Assassin's Creed, and I love that franchise. I didn't see its live action movie. You think I'm going to watch these? Hell no. I don't want to watch a live action reinterpretation of something I love. Just leave me alone. Let's see here. If we get the game remake as well, that means there will be 3 distinct versions of the same story to experience. Just gross. God damn it, the original Last of Us box art was so good. Okay, the remaster was okay, but it wasn't that. I loved that box art with Ellie looking back and Joel walking far ahead of her. Oh, man. Okay, dinner consumed, and I don't have a whole hell of a lot of time before I have to leave, so might enter a little bit of a lightning round. So, E3 2021, confirmed for June, Sony nowhere to be seen, article Robert Ramsey. Okay, let's be honest, it's not E3 2021, it's just going to be a bunch of... I don't even know how to describe what this is going to be. It's just going to be an online event, and it's going to suck. It's either going to be a semi-connected thing with a host kind of leading into all of these different presentations, similar to what Opening Night Live of Gamescom was last year, including all of the shitty mic qualities and sputtering and just how messed up that stream was. And again, it's always my frustration when seeing these things. Like last year when Xbox was coming out and doing their reveal events or whatever for the Xbox Series X and all that, when Phil Spencer talking to everyone on a shitty, it was like he was using his headphone mic. Really, get him a mic like I have. It costs $120. Really? Your massive company can't get people who are going to do these shows a quality microphone? Really? Hell, I have, you don't even need the same model that I use. You could just use the same brand. It's really good. I use the Blue Yeti models, which, not a sponsor, but again, it's what I use. I endorse them. Not paid endorsement, but again, I have to legally cover myself. You know what I mean. I like their products. But even then, you can get them for like $50-$60. Get them a good quality microphone. For the love of God, I don't want to sound like somebody's yelling at me down a hallway. Sorry. E3 2021 will go ahead as an online-only event. Organizer, the ESA, has confirmed the digital show will stretch across 3 days, beginning on the 12th of June and ending on the 15th of June. And contrary to some recent rumors, E3 2021 won't be locked behind any kind of paywall. The ESA stresses that it'll be free for everyone. Why would people think it was going to be a paywall? It's just going to be it's basically going to be like the E3 2021 YouTube channel and just have a stream that all of these developers could have just done independently. It's not going to be the big press conference that, the structures and everything that we're used to. Hell, we could have had that. The ESA could have gone to Texas, could have gone to Florida, could have gone to multiple states in the US that are either completely open, like I said, Texas and Florida, as far as I know, those two states are completely open and don't have restriction on crowd capacity, or could go to another state that you could still limit the crowd space, but still have a semi-public event and let people and companies come and do stuff like that. I don't know. The only thing that might be a little weird is developers from outside the U.S., just because of I'm not 100% sure how foreign travel works at the moment, but still, they could have done something instead. Oh, it's an online-only event. No, it's a connection of online press conferences that you're basically putting together, or not even, again, I don't know how much even the ESA or E3 is actually connected with these individual events. They're basically independently put on live streams that are just going to be under this umbrella, and everyone's, Sony's hasn't said they're going to be there. They might just do their own thing. I would. Whatever. Following publishers will be present: Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, and Koch Media. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Sony isn't on the list. It's obviously still subject to change, but we're not betting on the Japanese giants' cooperation. Let's not forget that Sony made a point of stepping away from E3 back in 2019 as the company decided that it would be hosting its own event instead. Sony was set to repeat the process in 2020, but the coronavirus pandemic put a stop to E3 last year. Anyway, in any case, we've reached out to Sony for comments on the situation. As for what we can actually expect from E3 2021, it sounds like it'll be getting the usual hype parade, only in a more fitting digital format. According to the official press release, we can still expect major reveals. The ESA also hopes to celebrate E3 2022 in person. Are you looking forward to E3 21 hopes for the digital event? Again, do I think Sony would show up? Look, when it comes back to being a real in-person event and holding big press conferences, yeah, definitely, I think Sony should go back, because I think that it's still the big spectacle and everything. Yeah, you want to tell me, E3 can be mostly done through individual press conferences, kind of like what this is going to be. Sure, it can, but the spectacle of the big E3 press conference and everything, I think, is still, it's a neat marketing thing. I really do think that Sony should return to E3 when it's back to an in-person event. What this current event is, I don't even think this is necessary, because, like I said, this is basically what a lot of these companies could have done on their own without E3. Like, they could have just put a stream on a YouTube channel. And put in garnered attention through Twitter. It was like Geoff Keighley's summer of whatever he did last year, where he was bringing people together to basically connecting a bunch of individually produced live streams under his umbrella. That's basically what this is. So it's one of those things. Okay, Sony's not officially part of E3, but Sony's still probably going to do a summer state of play or some event where it's going to announce new titles. It's going to show stuff. It's just, this is one of those things that I've seen people going, oh my gosh, Sony's not even going to be at E3. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who cares? I do not understand the hype for this digital event, just because, again, to me, it seems so unnecessary. All right, so Sony suggests MLB made the decision to include MLB The Show 21 on Xbox Game Pass. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that would be the case. I mean, look, because in the article here they even mentioned that Sony. Oh well, it's hard to believe that Sony, who's the developer and all this stuff, and that for this game, that they don't have any control over this stuff. But I'm also sitting here going, well, yeah, but without the MLB license, yeah, the show is a great baseball game, but it's not what people want. It becomes just a random baseball game with made up teams and names and everything, which, yeah, it could still work, but people want an MLB simulator. It's why people are actually really excited that that the NCAA franchise is probably coming back through EA Sports. So I understand the idea. Well, Sony's developing this, and well, how come they don't have any control of this? But I'm like, but in situations like these, people who own the license or the license of the NCAA, the MLB, or pick a thing, yeah, the people who own that stuff, yeah, they have the more control in this situation specifically. There's a reason why Sony said, yeah, well, rather than lose the license of the MLB, we're going to put it on all platforms. They'd rather make the game and still get some revenue. But yeah, the decision to put it on Game Pass, I have no doubt, came from the MLB. Because otherwise it would make no sense that Sony would say, oh yeah, sure. As previously speculated, Sony has inferred the MLB is behind the decision to include first-party game MLB The Show 21 on Game Pass at no extra cost, despite the manufacturer saying that Microsoft's service is unsustainable in the past. Yeah, it does make me ask some questions of, so you're going to put brand new titles on Game Pass and not have people buy them, and that's going to work for you. Okay, interesting strategy. I agree that there is something there about how it's unsustainable in the long term as it is, but that's whatever. And I quote, as part of the goal for this year's game, MLB decided to bring the franchise to more players and baseball fans, as in Sony wanted to keep it a first-party game, and MLB said no. Carefully worded statement from PlayStation said, and reported by Inverse, the decision provides a unique opportunity to further establish MLB The Show as the premier brand for baseball video games, end quote. We asked the PlayStation maker for a comment last week, but never heard anything, because they probably just want to bury their heads in the sand and go, yeah, this wasn't our choice. MLB, not PlayStation, is publishing the baseball simulation on Xbox consoles, so there's another reason why MLB would be the ones making the decision, not PlayStation, despite it being developed internally by Sony's wholly owned San Diego team. The game is, of course, based upon the league's license, which allows it to include all official teams and rosters from the real-world sport, which, again, gives them more power. I do not get why people are going, oh, Sony's fucking up here. It's not Sony's fault. I mean, later in this article, it's going to go, oh, well, Sony's still expecting people to buy it on their platforms and spend $70 to $80. Yeah, because that's how shit works. It's not their fault. Microsoft struck a deal, apparently, with the MLB to say, hey, you want to play this game that costs how much money to play for free? Well, granted, however much the subscription service is worth, but really? And again, it mentions that it can get rotated out. Again, you want to read the specific, right here. However, it remains unfathomable to us that PlayStation has so little control over the franchise that it funds, develops, and maintains and markets, that MLB was effectively able to strike a deal. I can totally agree that they were able to strike that deal without Sony. Again, because they own the license, which is the big selling point. Yeah, granted, they're well-made games, but it's the license that sells them. Again, you can read this whole thing, because it's really frustrating to me. People are, oh, well, why isn't Sony putting it out on PlayStation now? Because they want to make something off this game, because they developed it. Again, you want to say Major League Sports don't care about how well the game does. MLB just wants their name out there and use it as a marketing tool to get people to look at to go watch the MLB. Even though right now the MLB is really facing some shit after deciding to move the All-Star game, but that's a political issue that I'm not going to get into. But of course, this was an MLB decision, and it's fucking over Sony. I will not hide the fact that I think that this is a spit in the face to the company that has developed this game. If Sony, look, I'm not going to tell Sony, oh, well, they should just say, fine, have someone else develop it. We're not giving them the code. We're not giving them anything. Have someone else develop this game, see how it works for you. Because that's an absolutely stupid idea to give up the massive license and make any money that they're going to make back on the show anyways. But still, acting like it's a surprise that Sony's not giving people the chance to play the game for free. Yeah, no shit. Because they probably didn't want anyone playing it for free in the first place. I mean, how much money is Xbox out in this situation? They didn't develop it. They didn't develop it. They didn't publish it. How much money are they losing for putting the game out on their services? Okay, well, we'll put the game out on Game Pass. Almost even then, which I would sit and go, I think that might be that's Xbox a little bit thumbing their eye to Sony, kind of, or thumbing their nose at Sony, going, ha, we can do this and you can't do shit. This just seems like an asshole move on two parties' part against Sony, in my opinion. I think Sony's catching the shit for it, which I do not understand. But that's my take on it. I don't know. I think this whole thing sucks. Wow, man, that article actually made me angrier than I thought. All right, guys, I don't have time to go over the last article that I wanted to look at. It was an opinion piece anyway, so we might cover that, like I said, Thursday when I talk about some other stuff. So keep an eye out for that. I retweeted the article. It was something about how was it that this focus on first party blockbusters or something, and how it's actually a well written article from what I read. Basically about how people are like, oh, all Sony cares about are these big, massive blockbusters, and really that's not true. There's actually a lot of variety and a lot of quality there, but that's another thing. Like I said, I wanted to focus on some good things about Sony. So either way, I hope this video kind of, like I said, I think there's some things that Sony's doing that I disagree with, like remaking The Last of Us, but also things that I'm like, I think they're catching the shit for, clearly, like this MLB thing. And some things that I just don't understand in the first place, like the E3 one, that just does not make sense to me at the least. So yeah, I hope I kind of made some of my thoughts clearer, because you know me, I always ramble and rant and whatnot. But so I don't know. Tell me what you think about any of the stories, the particular stories we covered. Another Sony issue that you think that you like or dislike, or you know what your thought on that poll was at the very beginning. I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. So I kind of gotta go start getting ready for work. Fun! So, thanks for watching, guys. Social media is in the description. Like, comment, you're not already. Please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more next time, and I'll be back with more LPs tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and until next time, my name's AJ Gels, the Seal That Gaming Channel. I'm out.